"I haven't touched a man before," said the virgin giant mail-order bride. He smiles and said, "You're God's sent." "I haven't touched a man before." Garrett's hands stopped on his belt buckle. His new wife, this 6'1" virgin giant he'd married 4 hours ago, stood by their bed shaking like a spooked horse. "Ever?" His voice came out rougher than he meant. Cora's chin lifted. "Ever. No man in Philadelphia wanted a woman who could look him in the eye. So if you're expecting someone who knows what she's—" "Stop!" He crossed the room in 2 strides. She flinched. He froze. "You think I'm disappointed?" Garrett's laugh was bitter. "Cora, look at me." She did. Saw something blazing in his eyes that made her stomach flip. "You're God sent. I'm a 24-year-old virgin who doesn't know. You're perfect." He reached for her hand, hesitated. "But I need to tell you something first. Something that might change your mind about tonight." Her heart hammered. "What?" Garrett's jaw clenched. Whatever he was about to confess was eating him alive. "I can't—" He stopped. Started again. "There's a reason I needed a mail-order bride instead of courting someone local. A reason I'm grateful you've never touched a man before." The lamp flickered. Outside, Wyoming wind howled against the cabin walls. Cora's nightgown felt too thin, the room too small, this man too close and too far away all at once. "Tell me," she whispered. Garrett walked to the small desk in the corner, pulled out a letter. His hands shook as he held it out to her. "Read it." She took the paper. It was from the land office. Legal language about water rights and property boundaries. "Simple enough. I don't understand." "What does this—" "Read it out loud," Garrett said quietly. "Please." Cora began reading. Got 3 sentences in before she noticed his face. He wasn't following along. He was listening like a man hearing news for the first time. Her voice faltered. "Garrett?" "Keep going." She finished the letter. Set it down slowly. Understanding crashed over her like ice water. "You can't read." He turned away, shoulders rigid. "My wife used to do it, all of it. The invoices, the contracts, the letters from back east. When she died—" His voice cracked. "I've been faking it for 3 years. Memorizing things, guessing. Nearly lost the ranch twice because I signed papers I couldn't understand." Cora stared at his back, at the shame radiating off him in waves. "That's why you needed a mail-order bride," she said softly. "Someone from far away. Someone who wouldn't know. Someone desperate enough not to ask questions." "Yes." The word came out like broken glass. "And you're grateful I've never touched a man because you won't compare me to someone better." Garrett's voice was raw. "Because maybe you won't realize what a failure you married until it's too late to leave." The silence stretched. Cora felt the weight of his confession, the trust it took to tell her, the terror underneath his words. She thought about Philadelphia, about being called unnatural, about men who looked at her like she was a carnival attraction, about her sister whispering that maybe Cora should be grateful anyone wanted her at all. She thought about the letter from Garrett that brought her here, the careful, childlike handwriting that spelled sturdy and partnership. She walked to him, put her hand on his shoulder. He flinched but didn't pull away. "Garrett Brennan, look at me." He turned slowly. His eyes were wet. "I'm 6 feet tall," Cora said. "I've been told I'm mannish, ungainly, that I take up too much space for a woman, that no decent man would want me in his bed because I'm not small enough, soft enough, feminine enough." Her voice shook. "We're both things the world says are broken, Cora. But you looked at me today and said I was God sent. You meant it. I saw it in your face." She took his hand. "So let me say it back. You're God sent, exactly as you are. I can't even read a damn—" "Then I'll teach you." She said it fierce. "And you'll teach me what happens in this bed. And we'll both stop apologizing for not being what other people think we should be." Garrett stared at her. Something shifted in his expression, hope wrestling with disbelief. "You're not angry?" "I'm relieved." Cora's laugh came out shaky. "I thought you were going to say you had another wife somewhere, or that you needed me to work like a mule and nothing more." "God, no." His hands came up to frame her face. "Cora, I need—" He stopped, searching for words. "I've been alone for 3 years, not just without a wife. Alone in a way that makes you forget what it feels like to be seen." Her breath caught. I know that feeling. Yeah. His thumb brushed her cheek. I think you do. They stood there, two people learning they might be less alone than they thought. So what happens now? Cora whispered. Garrett's smile was small, real, devastating. Now I ask if I can kiss my wife. You don't have to ask. Yes, I do. Because you've never touched a man before. And I'm going to make damn sure the first time is done right. He kissed her then, slow and careful and sweet. Cora's hands came up to his chest, feeling his heartbeat thunder under her palms. When they broke apart, she was breathless. Was that, did I... Perfect, Garrett murmured against her lips. You're perfect. Now let me show you what comes next. But as his hands moved to the ties of her nightgown, a sound shattered the moment. Hoofbeats, multiple horses. Coming fast, Garrett's head snapped toward the window. His whole body went rigid. Get dressed, he said quietly. Now, what's wrong? He was already moving, grabbing his gun belt from the chair. That's Hiram Caldwell's men. He owns half this territory and wants the other half. He's been trying to buy my land for 2 years. Why would he come here tonight? Garrett's jaw clenched. Because he knows I just got married, and Hiram doesn't like losing. The pounding on the door came like gunshots. Cora fumbled with her dress buttons, fingers clumsy with panic. Garrett was already at the window, rifle in hand, his face hard as stone. Brennan. Open up, a voice thick with whiskey and entitlement. I know you're in there with your new bride. Let's have a conversation. It's midnight, Caldwell. Come back in the morning. Laughter. Multiple men. Now that's no way to treat neighbors, especially when we rode all this way to congratulate you on your marriage. Don't be rude. Garrett glanced at Cora. She'd gotten her dress on, but her hair was still loose, her feet bare. She looked terrified and furious in equal measure. Stay behind me, he murmured. No. Her voice was quiet steel. We face this together. Something fierce and proud flashed in his eyes. He nodded once. Garrett opened the door with the rifle loose in his hands. 5 men stood on his porch, Hiram Caldwell in the center. Caldwell was 50, soft in the middle, dressed like he belonged in a San Francisco hotel instead of a Wyoming ranch. But his eyes were predator-sharp. Brennan, Caldwell's smile was all teeth. Congratulations on your marriage. We brought whiskey to celebrate. Appreciate it. Leave the bottle and head home? Now that's unfriendly? Caldwell's gaze slid past Garrett to Cora. His eyebrows rose. Well, the rumors weren't exaggerating. You are a tall drink of water, Mrs. Brennan. Cora felt the appraisal in his stare. The calculation. She lifted her chin and stared back. You rode 15 miles in the dark to comment on my height, Mr. Caldwell. His smile widened. I like her, Brennan. Got spine. He pushed past Garrett into the cabin without invitation, his men following. I came because I heard you got married today. That changes things. Changes nothing. Garrett's voice was hard. I'm not selling, no? Caldwell picked up the letter from the land office, the one still lying on the desk. Funny thing about property rights, Brennan. They're complicated. Lots of legal language. Easy to make mistakes if you don't understand what you're signing. Cora's stomach dropped. She saw Garrett's jaw clench, saw the flash of fear in his eyes before he buried it. Caldwell was still talking, voice casual as a knife. In fact, I've got a survey report here that suggests your northern boundary is off by about 40 acres. That water access you think you own might actually be on my land. That's a lie. Garrett's knuckles were white on the rifle, is it? Caldwell spread papers on the table. See, here's the thing about territorial boundaries. They shift. Records get updated. And if a man can't read the new surveys himself, well, he might not notice until it's too late. Cora understood in a flash. Caldwell knew. Somehow he knew Garrett couldn't read, and he was using it like a weapon. Those papers are forgeries, she said clearly. Every man in the room turned to look at her. Caldwell's smile didn't reach his eyes. That's a serious accusation, Mrs. Brennan. You an expert in land law? I'm an expert in reading. She walked to the table, picked up the papers. Scanned them quickly. And these are dated 3 weeks ago, but they reference a survey that wasn't conducted until yesterday, according to your own letterhead. So either you have a time machine, Mr. Caldwell, or you're trying to steal land using fraudulent documents. The silence was sharp enough to cut. Caldwell's mask slipped. For just a second, Cora saw the rage underneath. Then he smiled again, slower. "You're smarter than you look." "That's good. Smart women understand opportunity when they see it." He leaned against the table. "Here's the situation, Mrs. Brennan. Your husband owes the bank $2,000 by spring. Without that northern water access, his cattle won't survive winter. He loses the herd. He loses the ranch." "We'll manage," Garrett said. "Will you?" Caldwell's eyes were cold. "Or will you watch your new bride suffer through a Wyoming winter on a failing ranch because you're too proud to take a fair offer?" He pulled out a bank draft. $5,000? Enough to start fresh somewhere else. Somewhere easier. Cora felt Garrett's whole body tense beside her. "We're not interested," she said. Caldwell ignored her, kept his eyes on Garrett. "Think about it, Brennan. You've got a wife to provide for now. A wife who gave up everything to come out here. You really going to drag her through poverty because of pride?" The words hit their mark. Cora saw Garrett's face, saw the doubt creeping in, the old shame rising. "He offered you money before, didn't he?" she said quietly. "And you said no. What's different now?" Caldwell answered instead. "What's different is he's got something to lose now. Someone who'll suffer when he fails. Rage, white-hot and clarifying, swept through Cora. She turned to Caldwell, and when she spoke, her voice could have frozen fire. "Get out of our house." "Excuse me." "You heard me. Take your forged papers and your blood money and get out. Now!" One of Caldwell's men stepped forward. "Lady, you don't talk to Mr. Caldwell like—" "She talks to me however she wants." Garrett moved beside Cora, rifle coming up slightly. "In her house. On her land. You want to argue the point?" The room crackled with violence barely leashed. Caldwell studied them both, this unlikely pair standing shoulder to shoulder, and something flickered across his face. "Respect, maybe. Or re-evaluation. You've got 2 weeks, he said finally. 2 weeks before I file those property claims with the territorial office. By then you'll realize I'm offering you a lifeline." He tipped his hat to Cora. "Ma'am, enjoy your wedding night while you can. Winter's coming." He left. His men followed. The sound of hoofbeats faded into darkness. Cora's legs went weak. She sat down hard on the bed. Her hands were shaking. Garrett set the rifle down, knelt in front of her. "You okay?" "Am I okay?" "Garrett, he knows about the reading. He's going to use it to take everything. I know." His voice was hollow. "I'm sorry. I should have sold when I had the chance. Before I dragged you into this." "Stop!" She grabbed his face, made him look at her. "We're not selling. We're not running. We're going to fight. Cora, you don't understand. He's right about the money. About winter. I can barely keep this place running as it is. With you here, another mouth to feed, more expenses. With me here, you've got someone who can read every paper he files. Someone who can fight back." Her voice was fierce. "And more than that, you've got someone who's tired of running from people who say we're not good enough." Garrett stared at her. "You really want to fight Hiram Caldwell? The richest, most connected man in Wyoming territory?" "I want to fight for us." She said it simple. "For this, whatever this is between us. Don't you?" He kissed her then, odd and desperate, and full of something that felt like hope. When they broke apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. "I don't deserve you. Good thing I'm not asking what you deserve." She smiled shakily. "Now come to bed, because we're going to need our strength." "Cora, I'm still a virgin who's never touched a man," she said quietly. "And it's still our wedding night. And I'm not letting Hiram Caldwell steal that from us too." Garrett's eyes went dark with want and tenderness. "You're sure?" "I'm terrified, but I'm sure." He stood, pulling her up with him. His hands went to her dress buttons, slow and careful. "We do this at your pace. You say stop, we stop. Understand?" She nodded, not trusting her voice. He undressed her like she was something precious. Every layer removed, he kissed her, shoulder, collarbone, the curve of her neck. She shook but didn't ask him to stop. When she stood before him in nothing but lamplight and vulnerability, he went still. "You're beautiful," he whispered. "Don't ever let anyone tell you different." Tears stung her eyes. "Garrett, my turn." He pulled off his shirt. "Let her see the scars. The mark where a bull gored him, the old bullet wound from the war, the evidence of a hard life. I'm not perfect either. We're both just doing our best. She reached out, traced the scar tissue. He shuddered under her touch. Show me, she whispered. Show me what comes next. He did. Slow and patient and so gentle she wanted to cry. There was fumbling and whispered questions and moments of awkward laughter. There was pain, but also wonder. And when it was over, they lay tangled together, breathing hard, changed. She couldn't find words. Yeah. He kissed her temple. It was. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, they held each other and pretended the world couldn't touch them. But in the darkness, Cora's mind raced. 2 weeks. They had 2 weeks before Caldwell made his move. She'd have to learn this land fast, learn the laws faster, and figure out how to beat a man who'd spent 20 years crushing anyone in his way. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, she felt something else. She felt like fighting. Morning came cold and unforgiving. Cora woke to an empty bed and the smell of coffee. She found Garrett in the barn, checking the cattle, his face grim. We've got a problem, he said without preamble. 3 head missing from the north pasture. Caldwell? Has to be. Warning shot. He slammed his fist against the stall. This is what he does. Bleeds you slow until you're desperate enough to sell. Cora's jaw set. Then we stop bleeding. Show me the property boundaries. All of them. They spent the morning riding the fence line. Garrett pointed out landmarks, water sources, the disputed northern 40 acres. Cora memorized everything, her mind working through legal strategies, but it was in town that things got worse. The general store went silent when they walked in. Women whispered behind their hands. The clerk's smile was pitying. Mrs. Brennan, heard about your troubles. We don't have troubles, Cora said evenly. That's not what Mr. Caldwell's saying. Told everyone at church yesterday that your husband's ranch is failing, that you'll be begging for help come winter. The clerk leaned in conspiratorially. Between you and me, ma'am, you might want to convince your man to take Caldwell's offer. Before things get ugly. Heat flooded Cora's face. My husband's ranch is fine, is it? The clerk's eyes held genuine concern. Because Caldwell's been buying up debts. And word is, he just bought your husband's banknote from the territorial office. The world tilted. Garrett's hand found hers, squeezed hard. When? His voice was deadly quiet. Yesterday. Means he owns your debt now. Means he can call it due whenever he wants. They walked out into the sunlight. Cora felt sick. He planned this, she said. The wedding, the visit, all of it. He waited until you had something to lose. Until I had you. Garrett's voice cracked. God, Cora, I'm so sorry. I never should have. Stop apologizing and start fighting. She grabbed his shirt. We have one advantage. He thinks I'm just another desperate woman who'll convince you to quit. He doesn't know I spent 3 years managing my father's accounts before he died. He doesn't know I've read every property law book in Philadelphia. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Caldwell made a mistake buying that debt. Because now he's not just our creditor. He's got a legal obligation to act in good faith. And if I can prove he's using fraudulent surveys to force a sale? Her smile was sharp. That's criminal fraud. He'll lose everything. Garrett stared at her. You're going to take him on in court? We are. Together. For the first time that day, hope flickered in his eyes. But as they rode home, neither of them saw the rider watching from the ridge. Caldwell's man. Taking notes, the war had just begun. The blizzard hit 3 days later. Not the gentle snow of Christmas cards, but a white wall of death that turned the world into howling chaos. Garrett was checking the northern herd when it struck. Cora watched from the window as visibility dropped to nothing in seconds. He didn't come back. Panic clawed at her throat. She pulled on every layer she owned, tied a rope from the porch to the barn, the lifeline ranchers used in whiteouts. Then she stepped into the storm. The wind hit like fists. Snow blinded her. Cold burned her lungs. She gripped the rope with both hands and pulled herself forward inch by brutal inch. Her fingers went numb. Her face felt like raw meat. She found him collapsed 20 yards from the barn, hypothermia stealing his consciousness. Blood on his temple where he'd fallen. Garrett! She shook him. His eyes flickered but didn't focus. No time to be gentle. Cora was 6 feet of raw strength, and she used every ounce. She hauled him up, threw his arm over her shoulders, and dragged him toward the rope. He was dead weight, 200 pounds of frozen rancher. But she'd been carrying heavy things her whole life. People called her mannish, unnatural, too big. Right now, her size was the only thing keeping him alive. She followed the rope back through the screaming white, muscles screaming, lungs burning. When she finally kicked open the cabin door, they both collapsed on the floor. Her hands shook so hard she could barely work his frozen clothes off. She stripped him down, wrapped him in every blanket they owned, built the fire so hot the room became an oven. Then she climbed under the blankets with him, pressing her body against his ice-cold skin. "Don't you die on me," she whispered against his chest. "Don't you dare die on me, Garrett Brennan." His heartbeat was slow but steady. She held him tighter. Hours passed. The storm raged. Slowly, painfully, warmth returned to his body. His fingers twitched. His breathing deepened. Finally, his eyes opened. "Cora?" "I'm here." He stared at her, understanding dawning. "You came into the blizzard." "For me? Of course I did. You could have died. So could you." Her voice broke. "And I just found you. I'm not ready to lose you yet." Something shifted in his expression, wonder and love and gratitude so fierce it hurt to see. He pulled her closer, buried his face in her hair. "God sent," he murmured. "I meant it, Cora, from the first moment. God sent me exactly who I needed." She kissed him then. Not the careful, uncertain kiss of their wedding night, but something deeper, claiming, promising. When the storm finally broke 2 days later, they emerged to find 3 things. Half the herd survived, the northern fence was destroyed, and Hiram Caldwell was riding up their property line with the sheriff. Cora watched them approach. "Garrett's solid beside her. He's coming to foreclose," Garrett said quietly. The storm gave him the excuse. "We lost too many head. Can't make the payment now." "Maybe." Cora's smile was cold. "Or maybe he just made his final mistake." Caldwell dismounted, sympathy dripping from every word. "Brennan, Mrs. Brennan, terrible thing this storm. I heard you lost significant livestock." "We lost some," Cora said. "We saved most. We'll make the payment. Will you?" Caldwell pulled out papers. "Because according to my calculations, you're short by at least $800. And the note's due in 4 days. "Then we have 4 days," Garrett said. "Be reasonable, man." "Take my offer." 6,000 now. "Walk away clean." "No," Caldwell's mask cracked. "You stubborn fool. You're going to lose everything anyway. At least this way. This way you get our land for a fraction of its worth while pretending to be generous." Cora's voice cut like glass. "But here's what you didn't count on, Mr. Caldwell. While you were filing your fraudulent surveys, I was filing a formal complaint with the territorial governor. Turns out those papers you showed us? They contain at least 6 provable forgeries, including a signature from a surveyor who died 3 months before your supposed survey date." Caldwell went very still. "And when I investigated your purchase of our banknote, I found something interesting. You bought it using funds from an account that's supposed to be held in trust for the Emberwood School District. That's embezzlement, Mr. Caldwell. Federal crime." The sheriff was listening now, and drifting toward his badge. "You can't prove any of that," Caldwell said. But his voice shook. Cora pulled papers from her coat. "Actually, I can. Copies of every document you filed, every bank transfer, every forged signature, all notarized and ready for the circuit judge who arrives next week." Silence. The wind whistled through the broken fence. "What do you want?" Caldwell's voice was ash. "Our debt forgiven. In writing. And you stay off our land. Forever." Cora stepped forward. "Or the sheriff arrests you right now, and you lose everything you spent 20 years building." Caldwell looked between them, this virgin giant and her illiterate rancher, standing shoulder to shoulder against him. He'd underestimated them. It would cost him everything. "Fine." The word came out strangled. He scribbled on a paper, threw it at them. "You win." "No," Cora said softly. "We survive." "There's a difference." They watched him ride away, broken. Garrett turned to Cora, eyes shining. When did you?" "Every night while you slept. I rode to town, searched records, bribed clerks. She smiled shakily. Turns out being tall and intimidating has advantages. People talk when they're nervous. He laughed, real and deep and free. Then he swept her up, spinning her around despite his still healing body. I love you, he said when he set her down. God help me, Cora Brennan, I love you. I love you too. She kissed him. Even though you're illiterate and stubborn and nearly died in a blizzard. And I love you even though you're tall and terrifying and too smart for your own good. They stood there, holding each other in the wreckage of the storm, and felt like victory. That night in their bed, Garrett traced patterns on her shoulder while she read to him from a primer book. C-A-T, he sounded out carefully. Cat! Perfect! She kissed his temple. You're learning. I've got a good teacher. He turned her face toward him. Cora, I need you to know something. What happened that first night when I said you were God sent, I meant it. But not because you're useful, not because you can read or fight or save my life. Then why? Because for the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could breathe. His voice cracked. Because you looked at all my broken pieces and didn't flinch. Because you're the strongest person I've ever known, and somehow you chose me. Tears slid down her cheeks. You chose me too, when no one else would. Their loss, he kissed her slowly. My gain. She pulled him closer, and they loved each other with the desperate sweetness of people who almost lost everything. And later, wrapped in blankets and firelight, Cora thought about the girl she'd been in Philadelphia, hunched and ashamed, apologizing for taking up space. That girl was gone. In her place was a woman who'd faced down blizzards and bullies, who'd learned that strength wasn't something to hide, that being big and capable and unflinching wasn't a curse. It was her salvation. What are you thinking? Garrett murmured against her hair. I'm thinking I'm exactly the right size. She smiled in the darkness. And so are you. He held her tighter. Outside, Wyoming stretched wild and unforgiving under the stars. Inside, two people who the world said were broken learned they'd been whole all along, just waiting to find each other. The end.